Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to Harry's Highlights. On this video, we're going to be talking about the book Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferris. Now this was all about understanding basically short life lessons from the best in the world. It's all little like tips and tricks on how to live a happier, healthier, more productive and fulfilling life. He basically collected 140 different reviews or answers from different people in highly successful careers and professions from around the world. And he asked them 11 simple questions. Now what I want to do is basically cover a couple of those questions there that I felt really stood out. So one of the first ones there that I think that a lot of people can apply and really take actionable advice on is he asked them what to do or what they do when they feel overwhelmed and unfocused. Now, they all had a range of different tools or tactics that they used, but one of the main tools that a lot of people seem to use was basically understanding movement. They said that focus follows movement. So when you walk or move, normally around a minimum of about 30 minutes, you can really start to change like those overwhelming thoughts, that unfocused feeling that you have, into something a lot more that has a lot more clarity, has a lot more understanding. They said that the part of the bigger reason was that like you basically remove yourself from that environment, so you're able to come back and look at things with a little bit more, with basically fresh eyes. The other thing is that like a lot of the time you spend sitting down, so then the movement as well also moves the blood around the area and reoxygenates the other parts of your body that were probably quite stagnant. And understanding that by doing this, it sort of gives you the chance to recollect yourself. The second thing they all talk about there is about breath awareness, which is really a form of meditation. So although everyone had their different styles and systems for overcoming that overwhelmed feeling and unfocusedness, another common theme that they all had was breath awareness. And this was understanding how being focused on your breath, really taking the time to look at how you're breathing and feel it, understand it. That are you breathing fast? Are you breathing slow? Is it short? Is it long and deep? Thinking about that being fully aware of your breath analysis helped them to understand more of where they were mentally. That even though they might seem like they've got everything together and things would be great, if they're very short, sharp sort of breaths, or they're very shallow, they understood just what sort of condition their body was in at the moment, because the lack of oxygen obviously puts your body under more stress. So taking that into account really helped them have an understanding of that, I need to, what some said, drop into my breath, which meant basically taking in deep breaths, reoxygenating your brain and the rest of your body, being fully aware of just how much oxygen you're taking in. And then when you remove yourself from all of the tasks and problems and things that you're doing on hand, when you take the time to focus on your breath, you then give yourself a more conscious form of meditation to allow yourself to regain clarity and also reoxygenate your brain, which will also help with deeper thoughts on things. The third one they talked about there was memento mori, which is Latin for remember you must die. This might sound quite morbid, but it doesn't have to be. It was really about understanding that at the end of the day, you are going to die. So getting hung up on these small things, getting basically detail-itis where you're so focused on these small, minute details which, although are important, aren't always super urgent. And that realizing that sometimes it's about getting the bigger picture sorted as opposed to getting stuck on these small details that are stopping or preventing you from moving forward at all. It's treating these so they say you can turn a molehill into a mountain. That's what this talks about, is that sometimes when you become overwhelmed, it's because you're focusing on so many small, insignificant things that you're missing the bigger picture. You're focusing on the icing instead of preparing the cake. Really making progress, not perfection. Looking at things and saying that okay, although they are important, it's more urgent to produce something. Basically how some people focus too much on not enough on the content and too much on the creativity of it all. The other thing that they talked about, or one that explains that, like, by combining these three things, you really can help yourself to have a clearer mind. You can, and then come back to whatever it is you are focused on before with a real laser-like focus. The other question there was I wanted to focus on there was about how they viewed failure and how it set them up for later success. So a lot of them all said that, like, it was about failing forward, about that it gave them that necessary step in the right direction, because all that failure there was basically helping them humble themselves, so that, like, you know, the ego kept in check, so that they understood that, like, just how badly they wanted it, that the failure that they were experiencing was part of the journey, and that it was about fast tracking your failure, not necessarily avoiding it. And this is a really interesting theory or principle, because it's about so much of the time we spend trying to bubble wrap, you know, our team. We spend time trying to bubble wrap ourselves. We try to avoid failure and avoid these uncomfortable situations, when really we should be just plowing through them. It's about fast tracking that failure. They say if you want to become successful, fail faster. And for a long time that was difficult to understand, but this book helped explain it in a different light. It was that failure, the destination is yes, the journey is no. And what that meant is about that, like, if the destination is success, to get there you had to basically take this journey of failure. And it meant that just, like, kept failing forward towards your goal instead of thinking that you can avoid it all. It's about that, like, if each step of each failure was another step towards your goal of success, you basically failed faster. If you fast track that failure, you'll get to success sooner. So it was a really, like, refreshing way to look at things, in that, like, failure isn't an indicator of that you're defeated or that you're not moving in the right direction. It's that you are very much moving in the right direction, and that you need to keep pushing forward or plowing through it. And then the other one there that I talked about there was understanding that, like, don't waste your days worrying about your years. It's about me being more present and in the moment. It was that too often too many people seem to try to be focused on, you know, what they're going to do in the years to come, when they don't have too many plans or thoughts on what's going to happen in the days to come. Gary Vaynerchuk says, like, too many people focus on the next 8 years when they really should be focusing on the next 8 days. The reason for this is that some people get so focused or romanticize the idea of what they're going to do over these following years that they miss all the small parts. It's like how we say, don't focus on step 10 when you haven't even begun step 1. It's like how people sort of think, when I become a millionaire, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to achieve this, and I'm going to make this happen. And it's like, that's well and good. It's great to have dreams. But it's foolish if you haven't even prepared step 1. You know, there's a whole lot of other steps that happen there. It's like imagining, like, you know, this cake, you know, it's like, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and it's like, you haven't even prepared the ingredients, let alone began the recipe, let alone put it in the oven to bake. You know, you're already talking about all this stuff, and then I'm going to cut into all these pieces, and everyone's going to have some, and it's like, you need to focus on step 1. You need to focus on the short term. And then when they say don't waste your days worrying about your years, is where it's that too many people focus on, like, these unrealistic goals and on these bigger results when they're missing parts of the process. So to summarize quickly, it's about this was all about short life lessons from the best in the world. People that are, like, you know, highly successful in different professions and careers, and how they have advice on how to live a happier, more productive and fulfilled life. And some of the questions we covered in there was things like what to do when you feel overwhelmed and unfocused. They basically said that some of the 3 main things that most of them said was focus follows movement. So walk or move. Have that breath awareness where it's a form of meditation, focusing on your breathing and how is it? Is it shallow? Is it sharp? Is it deep? Is it long? And memento mori, understanding that, remember, you must die. So don't get hung up on the small things. Don't fall into that detailitis. Keep painting the bigger picture without worry about the details after. Then it was understanding that, like, the question was about how has failure set you up for success? And that was understanding that it's about giving you the necessary steps in the right direction, about failing faster, about fast tracking your failures towards your success, and understanding that on the journey to success it is going to be filled or paved with failures, and that it's not about avoiding them, it's about overcoming them or ploughing through them. That basically some of these questions here will help you to live a happier, more productive life after hearing how a tribe of mentors have given short life lessons from the best in the world. Now we make a lot more of these videos for this training series to help you with your training with your personal development goals. That's all for now though. So until next time, leave a comment below on what you like the most, and look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode of Harry's Highlights.